Closed captioning for A Piece of the Woods was made possible by Shorter Log Home Supply, providing for the log builders for 20 years. Underwriting for A Piece of the Woods was brought to you by Tenonizer Technology, 25 years providing the log industry equipment and techniques to simplify perfection. Great Woods Cabinetry, providing custom cabinetry and more to the Twin Cities and now everywhere, from online to on-site. From Minnesota, an online resource for log enthusiasts. And Quality Manufacturing, building quality portable sawmills is in their reputation.
What we've got here are stumps. Yeah, this is our stump inventory that we brought in from last winter. They're getting ready to be put into storage, covered up nice, protected and all of that. Today, we're going to walk you through making a stump table start to finish on today's Piece of the Woods. Quite often, when my wife is going to make dinner, she'll walk into the pantry and dig around in there for a few minutes, and she'll come out with the ingredients to make a meal. What we're going to do today is turn back the hands of time a little bit, a couple of months, a few months, and go up to the swamp, and we're going to walk into the swamp, dig around in there for a few minutes, and come out with the ingredients to make a stump table. We've gotten permission from the Aiken County Land Department to go into this cutting of cedar, and we'll be looking for something that we can make a treasure out of. So like he would go through and probably mark this tree here, but this one's already dead. This one's gone, there is nothing left on it. But now this split, this one would be takeable, but he hasn't marked that one. So. I see something right over there.
The ones that have just got our leaves.
But this is just so thick that the sunlight can't get down into here at all. But the shorter trees,
they slowly starve.
They slowly starve
and die. And when it dies, the bark won't come off for us, and it becomes hard to use.
See, James, there's nothing like a cedar swamp. They are the most bizarre place on earth. I'm gonna find a way around there without getting wet. I think we can do something with this stump here. Stumps are cool. Look at this. We get this cleaned up, get the bark cleaned off of that, and all these, look at how that goes through there. Isn't that cool? I think we need to bring this one back and see what we can do with this. Now these trees, you can see this dirt. You couldn't even really say it is dirt, but it doesn't have sand and rock and stuff like that in it. So sometimes when we're in the swamp, we can just take like this and just cut the dirt away, our root that we want to save, without really even hurting the chainsaw too bad. Well, now you've seen the process of how we work up a lot of these stumps at a time. We're putting these away now for resale, but what we're gonna do today, since you probably don't have one of them big chop saws in your garage, we're gonna take the table we're making today and we're gonna scribe the base of it. That's where you mark it off. We're gonna scribe the base of it, and we're gonna show you how to make one of these tables using kind of basic tools that you'd have access to. So we've got one stump pulled out, the one that we want to use for the table. It's very nice. Sitting over at the garage, so let's take a look at it. We've got all of these gnarly roots here, the kind of like, you know, just gnarly, muscly kind of roots. Things that we want to keep here. Look at this. See this little X thing here where the root come down, and it growed together. We want to capture that and keep that in the table base. And then these kind of tunnely looking things, like under this root over here where it goes under. We want to keep it so it looks like a tunnel. We want to capture that. And then, well, of course, we'll get rid of this other stuff. It is a very nice stump. I mean, your wife might not think so right now, but it is first class. Other thing I want you to see here, look how these two trees and yet growed together so solid here. That's really uncommon to find. Very seldom to ever see two have grown together like this where it's so, you know, intertwined and it's just like it's just one tree here. And we chose this one to cut off partially because it would be harder to cut off in chopper because it's got the two matched tops here. It would be harder to cut off in our chopper, but for scribing it, it won't make any difference. We can do this, doing it scribing the base off, and that'll work out just fine. Here we are at the most technical moment of this whole stump table business, scribing the base. Now we've set this thing so we've got positioned as far as it being level, we've got a position just like we want it to sit, except that right now it's 8 inches higher off the floor than it will be. So we're going to scribe 8 inches off of it. Now, scribing doesn't have to be a weird thing. It's really very simple. We're going to use the flat floor. This floor is pretty flat. We're going to use the flat floor, 1 block of wood, 1 pencil. All we have to do is set the block of wood along here, and we just take our flat carpenter pencil and we just transfer this little scribe mark here. It is now exactly 8 inches off the floor, and we can mark this stump like this all the way around, and it will be just as flat as the floor. And then when we cut down to it, we'll just cut down to the line. And it will be perfect. And of course, perfect's good enough. The one thing you see here though is this block's a little bit thicker, which makes it easier for me to just set it on there, and I can position the pencil anywhere on it. Well, we've got the thing marked all the way around, and as you can see, we had to cut out a little bit of stuff in order to get close enough to put the scribe on there. Don't cut out too much though, otherwise your stump just might fall to the floor and you got to reposition the whole thing. You don't want that to happen. Anyhow, we're going to take the thing now and tip it up on its side and start cutting off everything that is not part of our table. Yeah, that'll work good. I got a nice sight line here that I can come down with the chainsaw and I will leave a little bit from the line. It's really hard to glue it back on after you cut it off. We've got it pretty well roughed out now. We're going to take it, I'll take it out the door, over to the pressure washer, blast a lot of this up, most all of it. We'll get it all cleaned up nice. Then we'll bring it back in and turn it upside down on the floor, and we'll get it perfectly flat. Now this one is much more average of what a cedar stump is like when you cut it apart. One thing you're going to really have to watch if you're using a pressure washer to clean this thing up, which is of course the easiest way. The only way to make it work, one, is a Rotex style nozzle. It puts out one little pinpoint stream of water, one little stream, but it's spinning in a circle, whoo, 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 several thousand RPM. Okay, that part of it, nozzle is essential. I'm running about 3,000, well, right now, about 2,200 pounds and 4 gallons a minute as far as the flow and the pressure and stuff. You want to stay far enough away so you don't burn the wood or you get it all splintered up. You get too close in here, it'll just shred the wood to pieces. So you got to stay back, you know, about 10 inches to a foot, and then really watch it, because you might not see it right off the bat if it starts shredding the wood, but that really pulls away from the appearance of it. Really bad thing to have happen. So watch the pressure, watch the, you know, how you're cleaning it up. If you do it well, it'll turn out very, very nice if you really watch it, okay? Well, if it means anything, this is the worst stump I've had to clean this week, and this is about number 22 or something like that. Give me a break, let me get cleaned up, I'll be right back.
Our helpful hint for today is I'm going to show you how to keep your outside bottom rail on your rail system from rotting. One of the things we've done is we have drilled weep holes through our railings with a series of drill bits and things. Replace your pointed lead with a solid stock lead that's going to follow a 1/4 inch hole, and we're going to drill that in just a second. Here's my 1/4 inch bit. If you don't feel comfortable just doing it freehand, you can make yourself a little guide. Otherwise, we have to run her through. I'd just go ahead and drill right through the part, except that if I were to do that, you're gonna have a serious problem with tear out. It's gonna blow the back of your railing right off. So I'm gonna drill from the back of the part down to the middle. You can see we got a perfect little weep hole, so the water's gonna run right through, keep it nice and dry, and it's not gonna rot.
Picked up this piece of plate. I found it in the scrap pile of all places, or the drops at any rate. They had a nice round 32-inch diameter in the drop pile. We took it and cleaned it up a bit, and you see these bigger holes that I got in here. These holes are to fasten down the tabletop once we set the slab on top of here. Now they're arranged like this, or bigger, they're a little bit extra size, but when seasons change and the wood expands, contracts, and it changes with the humidity, and you have to have enough room for the table to move. So the bolts will be set, the fasteners will be set coming through the center of the hole, but that will allow the table to move and it won't split or break or anything like that. But it's a nice piece of steel to get the top fastened to. Now we're going to pull it over and set it up at a working height. I've already cut the thing off, so we got a finished height. Once the slab is on top of here, we want a finished height of about 30 inches. So I cut it off so that would work at that height. Now we'll get it to a, come on over here. To a working height so we can trim off the base or some of the extra stuff on the bottom without crawling around on the floor. We're just cleaning up some of the little oddball pieces on here, getting it so it isn't quite so busy, and getting these little fuzzy things off of it. And then we'll just finish it with a little bit of hand sanding. But just pull it back or cut it back to the point, kind of like pruning a tree. Just take off the extra stuff and make it look pretty. Now I know there's a lot of stuff that that you're not seeing happen, But in order to get all this packed into one show, we're going to cover what we figure the most important parts. There's other things, go to the website. Take a look there. You can find a lot of other information as far as heights and how we did certain things. It'll be on the website. From now, we're going to take this and flip it over, and then we're going to flatten the bottom off, because that one is a little bit of a trick, and I want you to see that. I have to have a flat, clean spot on the floor so the steel sits flat. So I can level this thing. I got to have this, I got to set the steel down so it's absolutely level, so that when I level off the bottom, which will be sitting on the top, but when I level it off, it'll be exactly precise to the top, so they sit flat on the floor. Then we'll get the level on this piece of steel, because my floor is close, but the floor is not perfect. You can see we got one spot level here, and we're going to work the whole base of the table around from this one spot. So we can go from here to the far corner, and then we'll get it sweep all the way across here and get this flattened out here. And I'm just using the disc sander on here, because it's if you use some bigger equipment or something, cut too fast, and then you go, oh, what am I going to do? I cut off too much. Well, it's harder to do with a sander. And this cedar, this white cedar, when it's dry, it's so soft that it sands very fast. So it's not a long process. We got everything done now. It's precisely flat, everything done as far as what we can do with power. What's left now on this is about 8 hours of hand sanding, and Josh, you're just in time. You get to take this, sand it so it's ready for a finish. And while he's doing that, let's go out and take a look at what we're going to be using for the wood for the top. 3-inch thick white pine slabs, beautiful stuff. We're going to be using white pine that's been sawn. It's been sawn for a couple years now. Moisture content is down to around 12%. And we're going to be pulling some pieces, probably 3 or 4 pieces out of here to glue them up. And while we're getting this and getting ready to get it all glued together, that gives us enough time to take a walk in the woods. This is a field-planted, plantation-style forest. It has both beauty and investment value. But how do you get this to be this? It's a process. First, the birch and garbage oak are cut for firewood, and the remainder is left with no stem standing. In the springtime, red pine seedlings are planted and then left alone for 2 to 5 years. Now there's a rule of thumb for the forest. Whoever gets the sunlight survives and thrives. Next, the entire area is sprayed with a hyper-growth fertilizer that affects only the leaf-bearing brush and trees. The overstory of deciduous trees dies from this hyper-growth fertilizer, and the red pine becomes the dominant species, the overstory, and the forest. It's beauty with investment value.
Into the Woods was made possible by quality manufacturing.
So we're going to show you a couple of ways also. We're going to show you the way that we do it here, and if you have limited machinery, we've got another way to put these things together. Our blanks are going to be 6'4" that we're finishing off. I got 2 inches marked on there, so I'll put it 6'6" right there. Give me a 6'4" finished length. We'll just rough cut the ends of them and square them off. Save those for chair seats for later. We're going to do the next few just exactly the same. Okay, we can all agree that the challenge is not cutting the boards, just cutting them apart. The challenge is putting them back together to get these two pieces to go together in a absolutely precise glue joint, even though we're working with stuff that's 3 inches thick, 6 feet plus long. Now there is a trick to this, and it's not buying a $4,000 joiner. The trick is using a saw blade in a unique way. Now we'll start with the method that we use here, when we're gluing up a bunch of tables, and then we'll go to what you can do yourself in your own shop. We're going to pull them up so they're snug together, and you see how they rock? We're going to get the tippiness of them half and half. Half one way, half the other way. You're going to get them balanced out with them snug together. First step. Then we got to clamp the thing down so it don't move. Next, we position the saw so that the blade is set so it's half on one side of the cut, half on the other side of the cut. So it's going to cut right down the middle, half and half, and it will leave a precise, equal, flat, whatever you want to call it, so we can make a glue joint, glue it together, precise. Look at that. Look at that. You couldn't do that with a $20,000 joiner. Besides that, it'd be a whole lot more work. Okay? One thing I should tell you before we get too far, these are one-of-a-kind glue joints. They will not mix and match. They are where they are cut, this is the way they fit. So mark them. So you get them back in the same place. Once you turn them over and shuffle them around, you'd have to start all over again. But now what if you haven't got a saw like this, which I know most of you don't. There's another way to do it. Make it work very nicely. Same idea. Okay, on this cut, everything's done exactly the same, but for our track, instead of having this big elaborate overhead track and all this stuff, we're using a piece of angle iron. And we're going to fasten the angle iron down from the center of the cut going over to the angle iron, same distance as from the middle of the blade over to the edge of our, what we're going to use on the fence. When we track this right down, make the cut right through here, we're going to use the angle iron as a guide, and it will work just as precise as what we did on the big saw. And since you see that I'm shooting screws into this, on this, when you make the cuts like this, you have to work from the bottom side of the table, not the top. Otherwise, you end up with screw holes all over the tabletop. Your wife won't like that. Did it work? Okay. Glue joint? Absolutely. Look at that. Very nice. Can't even stop for a coffee break once you start gluing. Once you start gluing, coffee breaks take second place. The best glue. The best answers are usually the simplest. And Elmer's glue, the Carpenter's glue, is very strong, very simple to use. There's nothing complicated about it. It doesn't dry extremely fast, but a day and it'll be dry, day and a half. Last one, last glue surface. Got to get glue on every surface, every area covered. Don't worry if there's too much, it'll squish out. So you might want to put something on the floor to catch all the glue drips. We have set dirt around strategically on this floor to catch all the glue drips. Which is another thing with the Elmer's, it's very forgiving. Time-wise, getting all of the surfaces glued. You don't want to have the glue dry before you put it all together. That'd be bad. This is the end of There we go. Go back and get all of the correct sides turned up. Make sure all of our little lines match up. Ugh, come on. We've got this one pretty well glued up now. It's all strapped together, and you notice, look, I use straps, not bar clamps. Bar clamps do not work very good when you have this wide of material and the wavy edge. That's why I'm using straps. But I got top, and then you see the buckles like down here. The tightener for this one's on the bottom, so I get equal pressure top and bottom. But that's about all we got time for today. So we'll finish the table and possibly even a chair next time on A Piece of the Woods.
Next time on A Piece of the Woods, Mike is going to show us several techniques for finishing the tabletop, and then he'll make the most comfortable wood chair around. For a copy of this episode, or for questions and information, go to www.apieceofthewoods.com. Closed captioning for A Piece of the Woods was made possible by Shorter Log Home Supply, providing for the log builders for 20 years. Underwriting for A Piece of the Woods was brought to you by Tenonizer Technologies, providing the log industry equipment to simplify perfection. Great Woods Cabinetry, providing custom cabinetry and more from online to on-site. From Minnesota, an online resource for log enthusiasts. And Quality Manufacturing, building quality portable sawmills is in their reputation.